How's it going, breadwinners? Hummus Thunder here, and today I'm bringing you guys an in-depth look at the M19 pistol in Modern Warfare. This is my first in-depth, but expect to see more of these on the channel for every sidearm in this game, especially starting with the M19 and possibly the Desert Eagle next. Although, I can do another pistol if you guys want, just let me know in the comment section down below. So in this guide, we'll start off by talking about the damage of the M19 from certain distances paired with different types of barrels and muzzles. Then, we'll follow up the conversation with ADS and sprint to fire times for each barrel and each muzzle. We'll discuss the different laser attributes, the rate of fire for each trigger, the movement speeds and reductions, as well as the reload times for each magazine, and finally the optimal class setup to run on the M19. Instead of shouting numbers at you throughout this guide, I'll put them up on a table as I discuss each so it's easier for you to follow. The M19 is your clear-cut basic secondary weapon in Modern Warfare. It has the highest rate of fire in its class, but the weakest damage in comparison to the other handguns, due to it being the only 9mm handgun. The M19 has a very moderate recoil pattern, most of it being vertical and visual, with the time to kill on this gun ranging anywhere from 2 to 5 shots depending on the range and area of the body, making it a really reliable secondary when you find yourself in a sticky situation. Testing the damages first. For reference, we used one character step as 1 foot, and the muzzles that we chose to test were the monolithic and the lightweight suppressor, as these two are the two most viable options to run for the M19. As for the barrels, we went ahead and tested all three, and surprisingly, the M19 has no differences in damage between each barrel and muzzle and every combination in between. The shots to kill were the same throughout each combination of attachments regardless of the range. The max range that we used for this was the stretch of speedball, which is approximately 65 feet. Anything after 20 feet seems to show the same result as shooting end to end of speedball. And this is okay since you ideally won't get into a firefight from those kind of ranges, especially with pistols, as most of those fights are taking place between 30 feet or less. Looking at these numbers across speedball, it was a 4-shot kill to the torso, 2-shot kill to the head, and 5-shot kill to the arms and legs. Moving closer to 20 meters, we're looking at a 3-shot to the upper torso, 4 to the lower, 2 shots to the head, bumping up the damage per headshot, and 4-shot kill to the arms and legs. Going anywhere under 15 meters, we're looking at 3 to the upper torso, 4 to the lower, 2 to the head, and 4 to the leg. You're not seeing a huge difference, and really the gun will cap out at 20 meters is when it's the most viable. These numbers are the same regardless of what barrel or muzzle that you use. Shifting our focus over to the aim down sights category of the M19, within its class, the M19 boasts a pretty fast ADS time, clocking in at 200 milliseconds from standstill to lined up iron sights. Even with the heavier barrel paired with the monolithic suppressor, it manages to pull off a time of 300 milliseconds, but this is where it gets interesting. While looking at the graph over here, equipping the monolithic suppressor, the M19 has a steady ADS time of 300 milliseconds on each barrel unless you go with the lightweight barrel, even though the XRKL states that it decreases the ADS time. It seems that the M19 has a floor and ceiling in terms of ADS times, and the lightweight barrel is the only barrel that drops the time down to 233 milliseconds if you decide to run the monolithic suppressor. Now when you put the lightweight suppressor on, it increases the ADS time by 2 frames or 33 milliseconds from the no muzzle version with each corresponding barrel. So if you were to put the lightweight suppressor on, just expect a 33 millisecond increase from the base version of the gun with that barrel. But most of us actually move in this game, so I went ahead and tested the tactical and the non-tactical sprint to fire speeds for the M19 with each barrel with and without the mono and lightweight suppressor. Here is the graph and the results speak for themselves. The sprint to fire speed is the exact same regardless of what barrel or muzzle you have equipped. Now, these numbers will change when we get down to testing with the grips and lasers down below, which you'll want to see what those results really give you. For the time being though, everything looks clean across the board. Talking about lasers and grips. Lasers and grips are a pretty substantial attachment for most weapons in Modern Warfare. The M19 isn't an exception. We went ahead and did some extensive testing on the ADS times as well as both the tactical and non-tactical fire speeds to give you the best numbers possible. First, we tested each laser without stippled grip for obvious reasons, and here is the data that we managed to compile. The 5 milliwatt decreased non-tactical sprint to fire from 10 milliseconds to 83 milliseconds, while the tac laser left it unaffected for obvious reasons. Initiating shooting tactical sprint lowered the sprint to fire speed to 150 milliseconds with the 5 milliwatt, while the tactical laser again left it unaffected. Interestingly though, the ADS times with each laser were at a consistent 200 milliseconds across the board, no different from the base M19 without the lasers. Then we went ahead and tested the Stippled Grip on its own, and here is the data that we got from that. The Stippled Grip only seemed to drop the tactical sprint to fire speed to 150 milliseconds, leaving the non-tactical at a steady 100 and the ADS at 200 milliseconds respectively. Now, when we pair the two together is where we see the numbers hit the floor. Literally won't go any lower than this. The Stippled and 5 milliwatt are like peanut butter and jelly paired together. They drop sprint to fire speeds to 83 milliseconds for non-tactical and 133 milliseconds for tactical sprinting. That's a 16 millisecond and 50 millisecond drop from the base version of the weapon. ADS speed though is still sitting at a constant 200 milliseconds. Shifting over to the tac and stippled combo, the regular sprint to fire speed reads in at 100 milliseconds while tactical sprinting is 33 milliseconds slower at 150 milliseconds. Where the tac shines is in regular ADS speeds. It clocks in at 166 milliseconds from standstill to full ADS, which is pretty damn fast if you ask me. So we've got to the portion of the video where we will be talking about the magazine reload and the movement speed within the different magazines. Not many people talk about this, but they can both negatively and positively affect your weapon. So I went ahead and I got the data on each magazine. We went ahead and tested the reload speeds with and without sleight of hand, as well as the movement speed impact from using each magazine. Looking at the graph here, using the 17 round magazine, the base one that comes with a gun, has a reload time of roughly 1.616 seconds and a full reload speed of 2.15. Now when I say half reload or regular reload time, I mean when if you shoot less than the full capacity of the pistol and you reload. A full reload is shooting every single gun when there's nothing in the chamber and reloading. What's surprising is the other results though. The 32 round magazine has a faster reload speed at 1.60 seconds when empty and 2.116 when there's bullets still in the gun. The 32 round magazine has a faster reload speed at 1.60 seconds when there's bullets still in the gun and 2.116 when there's no bullets in the weapon. This makes the 17 round magazine the slowest of the three without sleight of hand if you're looking at this graph. When factoring in sleight of hand, the times for each magazine are relatively the same, but for this category, I really would recommend you to use what makes you comfortable and how many bullets you want in your gun, as these numbers could be due to capture card error. Any differences between the three are very insignificant. ADS times are all the same across the board for all three as well. Using each magazine, I ran the distance of speedball, which you'll see in this footage right here. The stock magazine has a 7.05 second sprint speed from one point to the other. If you equip the 21 round magazine, you're looking at a 1% decrease in speed. The 32 round is a 3% decrease in speed, and for comparison's sake, using the XRKL barrel gives you a 2% decrease in sprint speed. We have made it to the last portion of this analysis, so before we head over to the max ADS speed attachments, we will talk about the trigger info. The M19 has the highest rate of fire within its class, and it couldn't achieve that without the help of some of these triggers. For this test, we used the standard 17 round magazine and my trigger finger, starting out with the base trigger of this weapon. For reference, the M19 base trigger will mag dump in about 3.27 seconds. When we move on to the lightweight trigger, it can mag dump in 2.5 seconds. That is crazy fast if you think about it. That is roughly 6.8 shots a second if you got the trigger finger for it. The heavy duty trigger will mag dump in 4.06 seconds, much slower than the base and lightweight trigger for that matter, but will give you better recoil control if you need that accuracy. And finally, the match grade trigger will mag dump in 2.7 seconds, just behind the lightweight trigger, making it the second fastest trigger to use on this weapon. Now here comes the part where we talk about the fastest ADS class for the M19. Fitted with the stippled grip, the lightweight barrel, the tac laser, the lightweight trigger, and sleight of hand, these are the fastest attachments for this gun, which brings the ADS time down to 166 milliseconds, the same as the base M19 with only the lightweight barrel. There is a cap as to how fast it'll aim. Non-tactical and tactical sprint to fire clocks in at 100 milliseconds and 150 milliseconds, which only proves that the gun floor is 166 milliseconds for ADS, and 5 milliwatt is what helps to hit that max sprint to fire speed of 150 for tactical and 100 milliseconds for non-tactical. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the in-depth video on the M19, breaking down the gun and telling you all the statistics behind the M19. So if you want to see a different gun, like I said, comment down below what you want to see. I hope this helps you guys on using the gun and knowing what attachment to use. I really did put a lot of time and effort into this, so if you did enjoy it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, comment down below, like I said, what gun you want me to do next, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Hummus Hunter out. Peace.
Fine, it's fine.